will try to talk that in GS, basically here in our institute, we have one that is generally it is called a regular program, and in that regular program, you know that it is all general, like 8 sectional. In each paper there are 2 tests, and then there is, let's say that mock test to total 12 tests. We know that in market people, there are some candidates who do not want to write as per the regular test, as per sectional tests, because they are preparing, and their preparation strategy is a bit different. Hence, they would like to write their test later stage once they are prepared. So there is also, let's say that mock tests, which, let's say 8 mock tests, which can suit you if those who do not want to write at this stage. Then we'll come to the next stage. Let's that each paper there are, we have this 4 papers. In that 4 papers, basically in each paper there are 2 tests. Here I don't want to discuss about the test etc. What we want to discuss is how to optimize your plan in given limited time. So then people are in a bit fix also that how they should manage their GS, essay and optional, and they can study, they can revise, and they can complete their syllabus on time. So at this stage, different people have different strategy, and this is how they may follow their own strategy, how it is. And in that I will tell that, in case of paper 1, if you see the nature of questions, if you see, generally you know that questions are direct questions. So for them, let's say writing practice, too much writing practice is not needed. In this case, you can have one, let's say that one test, at least let's say that you can have 1 test practice. Similarly, let's say that in this paper, yes, questions nature are different. They are more analytical questions. So when they are analytical questions, and their dynamic nature also. Here we have the static nature. So static nature is if you have knowledge, if you have resource material, so you can cover on that. It may not be as challenging if you have resource and let's say that you have studied in past. Here the nature of question is more analytical, and at the same time it is dynamic also, and it demands some, let's say, legalistic types of answers. At the same time they have added governance section, social justice section. So generally people are weak in governance section because of lack of resources. Here you have the NCERT as a backup, they can give you, and hence you may not have lack of resource. But here NCERT, especially for governance, is not available. Hence, do you have material which can, let's say that, help you, especially on the dynamic and contemporary sections. So there it is challenging. You can have a bit more practices here. Again, here if you find it, these questions are dynamic in nature. At the same time, they may not be as challenging as this paper can be. So I am not saying because I teach about this paper, so that's why I am saying it. It's not in that way. You have your own wisdom. You can also analyze and can see that which paper questions pose most challenges, and accordingly our strategy should be. Similarly, economy, let's say yes, you can practice, because here the nature of question can also be a bit, let's say if you compare from this to this, it can be a bit, let's say that on analytical side, and also let's say that dynamic side. You can have also, let's say, practices, but in this paper also if you have resource or notes and also the current, let's say, focus you have, it is also, let's say that way doable. Means what we are trying to say is, it is not necessary that one should write each and every test, even if whatever our program of test or any other program of test series you have. So it is not important to write each and every test. If you are writing each and every test, that may result into a very watertight situation and you will collapse, because you may not be able to cope up with the challenges that you are facing. In terms of AC, you have to also write, and you have to optional, you have to also write, and then at the same time GS also you have to write. At the same time, people have plans to write multiple tests. Nowadays the culture is that people do not want to write at one place, they write at different places. So you have to see that whether you need to write all tests, is it mandatory? Is it helping in, let's say that, is it meaningful that you need to write all the tests simply because someone or else, let's say a successful candidate was able to write so many tests, so you are also writing it. But is it needed? That is how we have to understand, which I will cover at later stage. Then it comes, let's say, ethics paper. So you know that ethics paper is among all, it is it is easy, let's say, less syllabus you have, but difficult in terms of answer writing, because questions are lengthy questions they have, concept based questions they have. As far as topics are concerned, you know, very limited number of topics you have to study, least of all among all the four. But questions are conceptual in nature, and they are, let's say, they're lengthy questions, applied questions. Hence you should have a separate strategy for this, that how you can secure. If you are not good at ethics, then again, let's say, it comes that in all the four papers, what are your strengths? Those strengths can also come on the basis of your optional paper. Optional paper, suppose you have optional in terms of anthropology, geography, history, political science, public administration. So these are humanities, you will find that, sociology, so these are humanities. And these subjects will help you somewhere. If you have geography, you are getting the help, history, you are getting the help, political science, public administration, you are getting the help, economics, etc., you are getting the help. So philosophy, a bit of help you are getting here. So if you have humanities subjects, so certainly they are also helping. Hence, if you are good in your optional and you have the practice and you have overcome writing challenges and you have developed a good writing skill in case of optionals, whatever the optional you have, so they will help in this also. Hence, we are not supposed to be, let's say, like blindly following, just okay, this is a test, I have to write multiple number of tests, and that can help you in managing your time. So, that can help you in managing your time. Right. First, option. So this is what you need to ask a question to you yourself. This ask question. This is how the time management is. So your time management depends on all these factors. Ask yourself that, do I need to write more than one test series? This, whether you have, whether you are not able, that will decide the two things. One is called knowledge versus articulation. That is, we say, writing skill. This. So the question is that before you plan knowledge, whether you have knowledge in all the four subjects, do you have knowledge in all the four subjects? Whether your notes are prepared in all the four subjects, whether your key terms are prepared in all the four subjects, not all, but at least, let's say, you will consider 40 to 60% of syllabus. This, have you covered the important topics? Have you covered the previous year questions analysis, and on the basis of that we have planned it? This because this is not the time to plan, do all these things. This is a plan to work on them. Means this is the time to work on them. Hence, you have to see that which subjects you have good knowledge, which subjects you lack knowledge. This so lack knowledge means you have to get knowledge. This second thing is that this articulation and let's say writing skill. Are you so weak that you have to write all the tests blindly? This are you not able to, especially in GS, let's say that your optional may demand depending on the nature of the optional. But in GS, let's say that whether it is a problem of writing that you are not able to write, or it is a problem of knowledge in the answer, that the quality of content. Since GS paper answers are more straightforward, because people do not follow command, people are ultimately writing one short introduction, then pros and cons and way forward. That is how you are writing. It is informative. So what force you are applying in that? So ultimately it becomes like, are you, let's say that having a right strategy? Are you focusing on your strength and weakness? Or you are planning as per others' strength and weaknesses? That is how we have to understand. Because if there were some people who qualified by writing so many tests and you are also doing it, so it is not a right strategy. They may have done as per their strategy. There are different people having different strategies. You can see this. There can be some candidates who write very less number of tests, but they have also secured good marks and they get a top rank. So this you have to ask yourself. That is how you will be able to manage your time. Otherwise, if you go in a blind fashion, the way we find that many candidates simply they write tests. What we find is that they write tests, even they do not see the remarks, they do not read the model answer, they do not see the discussion, they don't see anything. And they are doing the same mistakes, it's again and again. Like say, if test 1 someone has done the mistake, we find in test 7 also, it is recurring. Then what the hell are you doing? Means the question is, what exactly you are learning? You are not learning anything, you have just become mechanical. So you have to understand, do you need to write all tests? Sincerely speaking, we do not advise students to write all tests. By writing all tests, they will not be able to manage time. Managing time, completing syllabus, revising properly, having enough writing, let's say skill and writing practice, also you know that it is important. Means this is how you have to understand. Means enough practice is also needed, but then you have to see as per your strength and weakness. So we have seen so far that most of the candidates lack quality of knowledge rather than that writing skill. Writing skill can have this and that problem, let's say, that can be addressed, but knowledge problem cannot be addressed by writing too many tests. Knowledge is, you know that it demands substance and it takes time. So you have to see yourself. If you have knowledge, generally we say that कि knowledge होगा तो लिख लेगा. अगर knowledge ही नहीं है तो लिख के क्या करेगा? So this is what you have to understand. So see, all tests are not important. All tests are not important. Some tests you can skip, you can get model answer, you can see what others have written to maintain your time, to maintain your momentum, and to maintain also peace of mind. This we can consider. Now let's come to strength and weakness. See, if your strength is knowledge, then go for practice. If your, let's say that go for practice. If your articulation, enjoy it, less practice you have, focus on improving knowledge. Because it has no limit. That is how to see your strength, see your weakness. Then optional, why I have added, because see, optional decides if you have humanities subjects, so they have good, let's say that they do help in GS papers. So if optional you are preparing, that if it has help in GS paper, that paper is also getting prepared. Many a time it is said that humanities optionals, if you have better writing skill, in GS also you will be able to have writing skill, because after all you have to write an answer. Yes, in GS, the approach is, it is flat, it is general, you have to put more information in that, in the limited space. So that way we can say it has a different orientation, but at the same time if you have a particular optional, so do not worry. First you finish your optional, This, because you know that we say essay ethics optional. This is how we talk. So essay ethics and optional. So optional is important because optional, any optional you have, it demands a bit of in-depth knowledge. It has concept, theories. So because of that, let's say that it demands a better hold. So you should focus on that optional also. Then if you have essay, let's say that, so essay is also, it depends whether you are good at essay, you are not good at essay. So these are all interlinked. Knowledge, articulation, this. So if you have knowledge and articulation, it is helping in all papers. If you have lack of knowledge and articulation, it is not helping in all papers. So that way you have to see to balance your preparation between GS, optional and essay. This, and you have to see where you have to put more efforts, which paper you have to put more efforts, and where you have to put more efforts. So this, you have to see which paper you have to put more efforts, whether, let's say, how to balance it. So to basically it is, you know, that you cannot compromise on this. So optional is a subject that you cannot compromise this. So first you have to prepare optional, whatever the optional you have, because here you cannot compromise. No? Compromise can be very, let's say that, detrimental, serious. In GS, I told that one or two you can skip, one or two tests you can skip. It may not hamper much. This, so there can be, let's say that you can skip on this. Essay. So nowadays when they are asking philosophical essay, so that philosophical essay basically demands, let's practice, because any candidate, largely given the nature of education in our country, we know that we have lack of less practice on writing philosophical type of piece of articles. So you have to focus on, let's say that essay. If you have been doing good in past, if you have written mains examination, so it is not a problem. But if you are writing, let's say that first time, so you should have practice. So this is how you can manage your time by, let's say that having this permutation combination, that where you have to put more. And certainly, let's say that you have to put more on optional, you have to put essay, it is philosophical. Here, 1-2 papers you can skip, it may not hamper much. At the same time, we need to have educate writing practice. Yes. Now then it comes that should I have daily writing practice? Should I have daily writing practice? So yes, daily you should have practice. Daily depends whether it is in morning or let's say that evening. Anytime, at least 1-2 questions you can practice. This you can say this. There can be, then you can go for writing your tests, whatever the tests you have. Then this is how you should revise this. Now it depends on that, how many, let's say, tests you write, how you have planned as per your strength and weakness, and let's say that this. But it is important, you can write like this. Basically, I will tell you that initial stage, let's say that you have June and September, let's say before 15, let's say, we'll find. When we are going to start, or let's say September, you can consider. June, let's say that your approach of, let's say that answer writing should go like this. June, you can say July, I will tell it is August. This, it is the midpoint. As soon as you are nearing to this, reduce it, increase it. Means there can be time as of now, you can 40, 30, and 30 you write answer practice, 70 you read. Gradually it may come down. 70 you, let's say that you, means gradually there can be a time, here 70 you can have answer writing practice, 30 you can have let's say revision, reading, So this, and finally it can be, let's say here, it should be 70 reading 30. There can be a peak, let's say that time when you have to read more. This. So there can be a time when you have to read more. There can be a time when you have to write more. It's not that you have to have a uniform practice. As of now, most of the people, they will be busy with reading because they have to, let's say, revise and let's say that have right knowledge, have right content. The right content is very important. No? You have to prepare syllabus wise, topic wise. You have to see first for give priority. Let's say priority. If you talk, I will talk in next. So we can prioritize like this. This is, as far as writing is concerned, we'll say 30% means as of now you should have less writing, more reading. A time will come we should have more writing, less reading. And finally, you have to revise towards the examination to keep in memory, otherwise it is difficult to retain and write when you face main examination. So that can be. Now, let's say that topics prioritization. Topics prioritization. If you say topics prioritization, so let's take that GS1, GS2. First, find out common topics. Do we have any common topics? Plus common with optional. This you should do together. If you at all you want to, if you are struggling with time management, if you are struggling in time management, so that is how you can follow that. Common topics in all the, let's say that there can be some common topics, like say urban. Urban is also here. Urban can be possibility of here. Urban can also be here. This geography is here. Geopolitical can be, IR is geopolitical, and let's say ecology here. That way. So there are some topics, governance you have, social justice you have, governance you can have. Here you can also have social justice, inclusive growth, etc. So there are some common topics. This you identify the common topics, and then let's say that see optional, whether it is they are matching with optional. If you have humanities, certainly let's say that you have to, like if I take about public administration, so it is let's say that GS second. You should prepare GS second with public administration, plus even ethics paper also, let's say that you should prepare. So that way your, let's say paper, GS paper second, public administration paper second, and ethics also can be prepared together. Ultimately, you have to perform in examination, not in performing in test series. That is not the objective. This you have to understand. So that can be one aspect. Then let's say most important topics. Which are the topics which are most, let's say, important, recurring questions are asked? You know that there are some topics they ask regularly. If you say in the polity paper, self-help groups. So it is high priority topic, pressure groups. This. So there can be some topics which are very high priority topic. No? They have been asked, let's say that there you can see more than 5, they have been asked, or let's say that more than you will find that 3 times, 4 times. So this analysis you can do of your syllabus, the topics, so that you should study those topics which are going to be those who have high probability to be asked. This. And that way you will be able to, let's say, cover this. Then you can take the other topics of your choice, relevance for this year, expected for this year. What are the topics expected for this year? This should be the strategy. And then let's say that next, expected for this year, most important topics that we told. Current you can take, so there are current developments, which, let's say if you take IR, there are 5 questions. In 5 questions, 3 are current, and 2 can be a bit static. This. So that insight, if you have, if you get insight into your strategy, let's say, this strategy is very important, analysis is very important. Before you start chart out your journey, still there there is no delay, I will say, although we are having this video and it is delayed, we'll say that we should have made it quite earlier. But yes, it does not mean that there is no strategy, you do not know strategy. There are so many strategies in the market. So, but yes, still, unless you have a brainstorming and you try to find out a right strategy, you decide it, and then you execute it, it is very difficult to maintain a momentum, cover the syllabus, and syllabus satisfactorily and revise properly by the time, let's say, that you have means before mains. So that is how the strategy, let's say, that you can follow. Then let's the thing comes related to answer. That's when you say good answer. See, it is paper wise, we'll say that there should be strategy paper wise, let's say, GS paper 1. So largely straightforward questions are asked. It depends on your knowledge, content. It is the quality of content. This you can say that. Information, knowledge. A bit of analysis is also there, but less. If you take GS second. So this, it is not content only. Plus they demand also analysis. Right. If you see UPSC paper, what UPSC is demanding? Analysis plus specific knowledge. Like say the case law. This, do you have knowledge about case law? Suppose there is a question is asked related to constitutional morality. Someone is reading now, not part of the Sabrimala judgment. So do you have some judgments related to, can you relate some of the things related to constitutional morality? This is how we mean by. So it is subject wise. We are not, let's say, relegating this paper, not at all. You can be also analytical. In fact, in all paper you can be analytical in generic sense. But as for the demand, you will find this is how it depends, specific aspect. Then GS3 again, it is, let's say, dynamic current. You can adopt the strategy more or less similar to this, plus information, plus yes, certainly some question may demand analysis. Ethics. So you can watch, there is a separate strategy. I will not here cover much. You can watch on, for ethics we have made separate video and it is available already on YouTube. So you can see this strategy for this. What should be the strategy? In fact, for this an essay also made. You can see. So content, let's come to content. Again, let's say good answer. See, a good answer starts with, you know that, any question. First, let's say that key, knowledge. Let's say content or information. Content and information, whether you have this. Then let's say the key terms, facts, examples. Have you already prepared all this? This intro, conclusion. Have you already prepared? This. Then command, let's say questions related. First is command. This second is key term in question. Third is parts, different parts. This. So are you adhering to this? So these things will basically decide, that's the quality of answer. So, like say ki there are some topics where introduction is going to be fixed. Let's say a question on self-help group is asked. So there you don't have to think about introduction. A question is asked on CAG, question is asked, means all those topics you can say in the syllabus. If question is asked on parliamentary standing committee, question is asked on integrity, any such question is asked on disaster management. So are you having let's say your own prepared introduction so that you don't have to think. Many a time we say that if known topics are asked as a question, before reading the question write introduction and then read the question. That we say sarcastically. So what we are trying to say is that have you prepared this, this knowledge is always relative. You will not know that how much knowledge you have. You think that you may have good knowledge. But if you take about this, let's say key facts, key terms, key examples, nowadays you will know that there are some topics have some key terms. And let's say that I will say if you are writing self-help group, the self-help group, there are some key terms I can tell. Let's say engendering of development, financial intermediaries, inclusive development, financial inclusion, gender empowerment, social capital. So there can be some classic key terms which may come in your answer when you are writing this. So those key terms, whether otherwise answer is going to be generic. So that is how we can say. Plus, do you have good examples? Let me tell what can be the good example related to self-help group. So some people know about Lijjat Papad, some people know about Kudumbashree, that kind of thing you can say. Nowadays, you know that the Prime Minister has taken Atmanirbhar Bharat, and that Atmanirbhar Bharat is also being linked to self-help group. At the same time, Prime Minister interacted with self-help groups. Recently you will find that, and self-help group is also being linked with Gram Sabha. These are the new development, like the Deen Dayal Upadhyaya National Livelihood Mission. It is being linked. So when we say that the key facts can be, let's say there is E-Shakti initiative by NABARD for self-help group, that is called digitalization of self-help groups. So what we are trying to say that you should have key terms, key facts, key examples ready. That it's all, let's say when you start writing answer, they should come fatafat in your answer, and that will make your answer more appealing. That will make your answer, it will take your answer from this to that very higher level, because it will create good impression. Because fundamental facts, this is how examiners, they want to know. At the same time, if you are able to strike a chord with introduction, you have defined, because conclusion will be something we have to do about self-help groups. An introduction can be that India has the biggest informal women empowerment program in the world led by self-help groups, which we have over 8 million self-help groups, or we have, let's say, over 14 crore self-help groups. That can be one introduction. Our self-help group is helping in establishment of social capital, which will have a very desirable impact on the process of development and financial inclusion. So again, let's say when we are talking these things, so you are ready with your introduction. It does not take time to think there while writing answers. Similarly, you have a desired, let's say that prepared conclusions. So that way we can consider. And similarly, let's say not all commands, some commands you have to know. All commands we also do not expect people will follow, but because at the end of the day, the focus remains on writing the answer. Whether you are writing as per the command, it does not matter. Whether you are writing the key terms, it does not matter. The main mission of the people is just to write the answer and finish it. So in that case, they are not writing the command. Similarly, key terms, whether the key terms in the question adequately address, are just in the process of pros, cons, and this, it is ignored. This is how I can say. So it is ignored. It is like, suppose you are in a meeting in a function, and let's say one person is a very close person, or a very, let's say that you have not met for some time, and he has come from a long distance just to, let's say, meet you, and his coming is important. But what you do is that you have a handshake with everyone. So you give uniform, let's say that focus to everyone. In that process, you will end up ignoring that person. So question, let's say, also like this, answers demand that where you have the main focus, you should, let's say that adequately answer this. Then questions can have 2 to 3 parts. Are you addressing the parts as per the demand nature of the question? Because they may not demand that you should have equal focus. Like, what do you understand by quasi-judicial body? How they help in how they help in promotion of, let's say, speedy adjudication. So first part is you have to give less focus. Second part, let's say that you have to give more focus. So you have to understand that whether you are focusing on, you don't have to have equal focus on both. Nature of question decides whether you have to focus on first part, second part more. And adhering to all these things will be considered as good answer. A good answer is one which is answered as per the demand of the question. This is how simply we say, which only UPSC knows that what is a good answer, and you will know when you get good marks in UPSC. So then you will come to know whatever you wrote, they were good. So that way we can consider about this. Now, is it important to, let's say, structure, let's say when you write. So when we write a structure, let's say 10 mark questions, then 15 mark questions. Right. Here it is not needed to write introduction. You can have direct answer. Then write as per the command. Then conclude this. But here you should write, it is 15 marks. Write introduction. This is called body. Then write conclusion. Wherever you need to give some suggestions, etc., right way forward. This. Now, here let's say that basically what we find, let's say the question is related to CAG. What we find is that people don't have a punchline. Let me give you the punchline. The CAG is the supreme audit institution of the country, which is considered as conscience keeper of the government. It upholds its financial accountability, and B.R. Ambedkar considers CAG as All India rank of, means All India character officer in addition to or along with judges of Supreme Court and election commissioners. This is how we find. These are very impactful lines when you write in beginning. So that can give you a very impactful introduction you can have. Then basics you have to write about CAG. So when you are writing here, you have to learn how you can write in 2, 3 lines, 4 lines about CAG. Or if you are writing 73rd Amendment question related, how can you write in 2, 3 lines or 4 lines basics of this? Or if you are like writing Public Account Committee, how can you write? But basically you have to write basics. You cannot escape it. You cannot directly come to any question which has been asked. You will come only after writing an introduction, then writing basics, then you finally come to the question. It is difficult to follow rules, you know that. Rules, discipline, it is difficult to follow. But good answers demand proper line and length. This is how you can say that. You know that there is a difference between a good bowler and an erratic bowler. So Sohaib Akhtar can be considered as a highly erratic bowler but deadly, but let's say only when ball will work, you know that. But McGraw will be considered, you know that, deadly with line and length because he had discipline in his bowling. Answers writing also demand certain level of disciplines if you want, otherwise it is a brute force. You can go with a brute force. If your strategy is going to work, you will qualify, otherwise not. But if you follow proper discipline and standards which are established, and that is how it has been told, this is how it is known in also the market, that is how it has a high chance that you will not miss like Sohaib Akhtar. And that is how you will find this your answer is structuring, content, etc. That is how you should follow. And this way you can, let's say that improve. So while writing your answers, when you have writing practices, learn all these things. Don't have blind answer writing. You can learn to write some basics. Whether we find that people are not able to write basics. Suppose a person is writing an NHRC, the person keeps writing 1 page basics, or a person does not write basics at all. It all depend. This is how it is called articulation. Because in GS paper topics are general. So when topics are general, then it comes in mind. Should you write basics, background, etc., or you can directly address. When you directly address the question, then a gap is created. This and it is not coherent. And when you start writing basics, so then it results into, let's say, there is too much, let's say, time consumption and space consumption. These things you have to learn in writing. So what you have to learn in writing practice is that introduction, basics, whether you write, body, whether you are able to articulate as per the parts, whether commands you are able to follow, conclusion you are able to, and that way, let's say that you can improve in this, let's coming to 2 months, we will say that, because half month, last, let's say that you should give time, means 15 days time you should give for revision. Although in that also you can have self-writing practice. That is how we can say that. So hope that it will help you in improving your strategy, improving your answer writing skills, and at the same time will tell it is always a matter of knowledge. Uh, Writing skill will come with practice, no doubt, but if there is lack of knowledge, so it will affect overall your quality of answers, because it will affect all the papers. Lack of knowledge means all the 7 papers, 4 GS, 1 essay, and 2 optional papers. So devise your strategy smartly, devise and follow it, execute it. All the best.